For you, Pastor Chad. One is, what would you say to some of our churches and church leaders that are in the audience that are looking at us today? What would you say to them to encourage them, and I'll say challenge them? And then the other would be to think about a success story or something that really made you feel good as a part of serving people and having a food pantry.
Well, I would tell churches and pastors and leaders, deacons, elders, whatever that may be, that Jesus clearly mandates in the Scripture, you know, we're supposed to give to those who are the least of these. And it's a mandate in Scripture in all faiths really, is to give to the poor and to serve and help. And I think we got to be concerned not only with the eternal soul, but also the here and now. And I believe that every person on this planet, wherever they're at, they deserve to have an abundant life and have the basic needs met. And so I think churches, you need to treat the whole person.
Yeah,
and so that's a mandate I think every church leader should grab a hold of and take the bull by the horns and do something to really make a difference on the here and now, not just in eternity.
Absolutely.
And as far as a success story, there are so many. I'm telling you, when I just see individuals' faces that come to our pantry, we feed 200 to 300 clients 200, not clients, families, every month.
Wow.
And they come in, and to see the gratitude in their face, where we don't put pressure on them, we don't make them feel bad for coming to an agency, we make them feel good. Wow. We make them believe that there's something better on the horizon for them. And then to give them the groceries and to get to know the clients, all those. Yeah. That makes my job and the ministry we do just wonderful.
That was really kind of a setup question, because I've gotten to know you through my wife, and I knew it would be really tough for you to pinpoint one opportunity or one situation or one family, because I can just see it in you and in Mrs. Greer and just the entire organization. Mrs. Greer, tell me, there are a couple of terms that people are not really that familiar with, and they may be a part of it. And one is the term food desert. Could you explain that quickly for us?
Food desert means that you don't have access to wholesome, nutritious food. It may be in a rural area, and it may be right here in an urban area. For example, in the South Memphis area here in this city, there is not a grocery store. You know, anyone living in that community would have to catch the bus to drive to a grocery store. So most of the time the only access is a convenience store or some mom and pop store on the corner. In the rural areas, people think, well, they can grow their food. In most of the rural areas, all the land is owned by some major farm conglomerate, and there is a serious problem there. We talk to people when we do our mobile pantry distribution in rural areas, and we ask them, do you receive food stamps? For example, I talked to a family in Lake County, and they didn't get food stamps because they really didn't have transportation to go to the next county over to the grocery store to get the food. And if they paid someone to take them to Dyer County to the grocery store, it would eat up most of what they had in food stamps.
Wow. Yeah. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking with the President and CEO of the Foodbank, Ms. Estella Greer, and Pastor Chad, one of the board members. Once again, give us that phone number.
The phone number is 901-527-0841, and our website is www.midsouthfoodbank.org.
How do you like that for a commercial? It does pretty good there. Well, thanks. Let's move on and talk about just some of the programs. Some of them are kind of cute, if you will, but you know, and you make it really fun and exciting and energetic. You talked about the backpack program. Gwen and I actually went to my first backpack program to actually see you distribute food for children for the weekend. And I tell you, I had goosebumps all over me, and tears were just bursting everywhere, happy tears. But tell us about, let's start with the children, our most valuable asset. What kind of programs do you have for them?
Well, the Food Bank basically has 3 initiatives that we work from. It's feeding children, feeding families, and feeding seniors. And our Feeding Children program, I'm so proud of that program because I started the program. But the Feeding Children program, it started with Kids Cafe. And Kids Cafe is where we provide children with 2 well-balanced meals twice a week in a safe environment. They're at Boys and Girls Club or Girls Inc. And the children don't stand in line with trays and get their food because they get that at school. We wanted them to feel special, so they're seated at tables and they're served by volunteers.
Oh, wow.
And prior to that, they get a nutrition education lesson to help them to learn more about eating healthy, because our goal is not just feeding people, but helping to move them from hunger to health.
Wow.
So we provide them with a nutrition lesson, but we realized through that Kids Cafe program, as wonderful as the program is, we were not reaching as many children as we could. And so we started the Backpack program, which is a program of Feeding America, which is the network of food banks that we're a member of. And that program allows us to distribute 6 nutritious meals to children on Fridays. These are children who receive free or reduced lunch at school, who often go home and don't have much over the weekend. And teachers have talked about how the children come to school on Monday and they're running down the hallway to get to the cafeteria for breakfast because they're hungry. So we send them home with breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it's all easy to prepare food for them. Even if they don't have a microwave, it's something that they can prepare for themselves. So we include whole grain cereal, chef-stable milk, fruits, 100% juice. We also include vegetables and proteins, so they have entrees and vegetables in there as well. And we include a snack, peanut butter and jelly, or other nutritious snacks.
Yeah. There's one thing and one word that you've continued to mention, and that is nutritious. Nutritious. I know when I first met, and she mentioned the food bank, I thought, okay, so you're just feeding people, just something to fill that void, if you will. But I've heard you say, you've talked, instead of just saying food, you've been saying nutritious food. Tell us about that.
Well, that moves us to our Feeding Families program. And you're right, we did. We just fed people. And it didn't matter. It was whatever food we got donated. We wanted to make sure that we got it out the door to the people who needed it. But we started looking at the health problems. And were we a part of that? Were we contributing to the health issues, to diabetes, with all of the sugary things we were putting out the door, all of the snacks that because we were doing a lot of sodas, a lot of snacks. You remember that,
yeah,
Pastor Chad? And so we had to look at what we were doing. And through our Feeding Families, our Hunger's Hope program is our largest program, and that's our warehouse distribution program where the agencies come to the food bank. They place their orders and they'll come and pick up food, or we'll deliver the food. Well, we started, as the food industry got more efficient, there was not as much donated product available. So we were buying product, but not really looking at what we were buying. And that was the case even in our backpack program when it first started. But we have a nutritionist on our board who said, wow, you all cannot add to the childhood obesity problem. And so we started really looking at what we were doing. So even when we order food now, we look at the salt content in the canned goods that we order. For the canned fruits that we order, we're looking to make sure that it's not in a lot of syrup, but it may be in light syrup or in its own juices. So we want to make sure that we have those items in our inventory that are nutritious. In our mobile pantry program, which is a part of our Hunger's Hope program that's Feeding Families, this is for our rural areas who really didn't have the infrastructure to deal with large quantities of food that were needed to feed the families there.
Wow. We
make sure that we're sending fresh produce and protein product there for them. Awesome. So this year we doubled the amount of produce that we distributed this time last year.
Wow, that's great. I want to come to you, Pastor Chad, and ask you about maybe a way or something that you can think of that is really exciting about being a board member, and how do you guys support Mrs. Greer in her efforts? And then I want to ask you a question about this 8-year thing, because you must have started when you were in kindergarten, so we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Well, I love being a part of the board because I'm a firm believer that we are agencies, but I'm an agency of the Midsouth Food Bank. So I'm a franchise, so to speak. And this past year at our agency conference, I really encouraged our agencies to partner and join with the food bank. You know, we just don't get our food from them, but we have to have some buy-in. So I really enjoy encouraging our agencies to be a part of it, to get engaged. And so one thing that our agency does, that our church does, Raleigh Assembly and Manna Ministries, we give back, you know, so to speak, a tithe back to the food bank.
Oh, great.
And I am very proud to say that. It's awesome because now, not only am I receiving from them, but I'm also giving back to an organization in Mississippi. I'm giving back to Critton and County, and my funds that we support the food bank with are helping the whole.
Wow. And
that's just what I enjoy doing. I enjoy supporting our CEO and president, and to connect with other business leaders to raise the level of the need, to raise the level of what we need to do in our community, in the faith community, in the business community, to help our city and our area.
Wow, that's great. And ladies and gentlemen, you can look at this young man and you can tell if he's been doing this for 8 years, apparently he started very young. So you don't have to worry about your children starting too early and starting too young. And I would imagine even all of you churches that are out there, we'd like to even challenge you to bring people out and to volunteer, because you have volunteer opportunities, right?
Of course. And all they have to do is go to our website, www.midsouthfoodbank.org, and download the volunteer application.
Awesome.
And submit it. We love volunteers. Volunteers come in to help us sort food. We get a lot of food from food drives. As a matter of fact, our holiday food drive is coming up in December, the first week in December. So we're going to get a lot of food collected that we'll need volunteers to come in and help us sort it down so that we can get it out to our agencies, who in turn get it out to people in need. And one thing I want to stress to your listeners is that a lot of people have a misconception about the food bank. They think that we're a pantry like Pastor Chad's church, but we don't serve individuals. We provide to nonprofit organizations that are serving individuals. So if someone calls us in need of food, then we're able to refer them to our partner agencies. We are a food distribution center. Wow. So we collect the food, we purchase food, and we get it out to our partner agencies.
Okay, so you're that hub. So ladies and gentlemen, as Ms. Greer has just mentioned, if you know of any organizations, and once again, I will challenge and ask you to help us to feed this region. You can contact me at 901-870-7492, or you can email me at ricksinternational@msn.com. Or you can go to the Food Bank website at www.midsouthfoodbank.org, or you can contact them at 901-527-0841. Once again, we've got Mrs. Estella Mayhew Greer, who's the president and CEO, and we've got Pastor Chad Hampton, who's a board member, and he's also, I really love this man of ministries at Raleigh Assembly. So great work that's being done. And as we are winding down, we've talked about food, and you just really glanced over another opportunity for the many, many folks who are out there and are just waiting to write a check. There are other ways to contribute, and tell us about that as we're closing out.
Well, when you're shopping in the grocery store and you see the Feed the Need card, just pick up that card and scan it, and add $1 or $5 or $10 to your grocery tab, and it comes directly to the food bank. And I want to say that you can provide food through our food drives, you can provide funds through your donation, or you can come and share your talents with us. We need help in so many ways, not just sorting and packing food, but we need help in the offices. We need help serving the kids at Kids Cafe. And I just want to share this story with you. About 2 months ago, we had a gentleman who came in, and he brought a $50 check to us.
Wow.
And he